Kia ora tātou. Okay, commence our hui. Kei au koe rangiti.
Te he Māori ora. Kaura te tāhu nui o rangiru e tui honei, kaurua te nukuru o papatua nuku takoto ana ki waho. Tēnei te toki whakaarara, e toki mā te tangata ora, huia mai ki a hau. Te Māori awa, he Māori tōnui, ke whakaputa hia ki te whaiao, ki te ao mārama. Turuki, paneke, hara mai te toki, haumi e, hui e, taiki. Tēnei rā ka mihi ki a tātou. Tātou taupua nei rau i te tūnui o tēnei o ngā whare. E mihi ana ki a tātou te Arawa, me te āhuatanga ki o tātou tini mate. Ako nei ka tū mai arapeta tuku kupu mo tō tātou he mana. Tākuta tā nōpera tamihana Curtis i riro atu ki ngā Hawaiki. Hawaiki nui, Hawaiki ro, Hawaiki pāmama. Mahue mai, ko te poari, ko te hunga, ko te hāpai o, hei kaue i tōna kauai ki tawhiti. No reire, tēnei ka mihi ki a tātou, koutou, whai kaha nei ki te haramai, tēnei hui a tau. Ki te whakarongo kōrero, mai i ngā rangatira noho ake nei, i te tēpū nei, mō ngā whakahairetanga, kōti i a tātou i te tau ko pau, ko hori. Nā reira, me pēnei te kōrero, anei rā tātou te hongora noho ake nei, ko te hunga, kua whakawairua tia, kai a rātou te tau o te pō, kai a tātou te tai o te awate, no reira huri no te whare nei, tēnā koutou, kei te he mana, tēnā tātou katoa.
Ka kamihi a rangahaua kai hea koe kua ngaro nei. Tēnā kōriro ki pai i rau. Ki te huinga o te kahurangi ka oti atu koutou we. Kai te piki kōtuku o Ngāti Rongo mai. Kai te rangatira o te Arawa. Tēnei anō mātou e tangi mō te ake nei ki a koe. Nei rā tō puari o tira, nei rā tō iwi whānui. E whakaaro ake ki a koe me wau nā mahi huhua i mahi ai e koe i runga ki te mata o te whenua. Anei rā te reo whakamiha, e te mai aroha ki a koe e koro. Nāu nei para i te huarahi mo tō tātou waka o te Arawa. Kia kuhu atu rā ki te whare miere. Kia huekina rā ngā pūtea o te kāwanatanga. Hai aha. Kia hāpaitia tō iwi, kia hāpaitia au nā roto moana, kia hāpaitia te ahurea o te Arawa me tō reo rangatira. E kore e ea ngā whakaaro ki a koe me wau nā mahi hei whakarangatira tō iwi o te Arawa. No reira, tēnei au, tēnei tātou, e tangi tonu atu ki a koe. Kia mōhio wai koe kai te kōkiri tonu wei nei nā mahi. Anei tō puari, anei tō iwi, e kōkiri tonu nei ngā kaupapa nui o te Arawa. No reira, kai te pāpā, kai te rangatira, moi mai rā, oki atu. O tira ia, me nā ka tuku mihi ka koe e koro, ka tuka kia mihi ake, kia rātou katoa ko hinga atu i tēnei tau. Me ki rātou katoa i whakapau wera, mō rātou whānau, mō rātou hapu, tō tātou iwi o te Arawa. O reira, a koutou ko hinga atu, koutou kai te wāhingaro, haere, me whiturangi hia koutou. Ka tītoko te pō, ka tau ārai te pō, ka tītoko te ao marama, a tihei Māori ora. Tēnei ka mihi ake ki a tātou e whakaaro ake ki a rātou kai te wāhingaro. Kāre tēnei te tō ake i ngā kōrero, engari kia tuku ngā mihi ki te wāhingaro o tira ki tō tātou rangatira, nānei para i te huarahi mo tēnei tarati, mo tō tātou wako o te Arawa. Nō reira, tēnei kamihi ake ki a tātou. Ko tāu.
Kia ora. Kariki. Kia. Ken. Kariki.
Tēnā tātou i ringi ngā tini āhuatango i ringi te karanga o tēnei rā. E raru te riru au tō tātou maunga ngā painga maunga mai nongo taha atu ki a te i te tei o tonga, tai atu ki a tuturu, kupu aturo, titiro, tērā, atu ki a moirangi, tai atu ki a ruawāhia, taruera hoki. Huri taka te tiro, atu ki a rotu i te tērā. Nō reira, i ringi ngā tini āhuatanga, i ringi ngā karanga tēnei te mihi, ka karakia tātou. E ono rei kuro rika te atea maunga arongo te whenua. Whakaaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa meni. E te atua nei mātou ka ina tiki a koe. E atu ko mai ki ringi ki a mātou tō arawato mana tō rangi Māori. Ai arahi ai tōtō i ringi a mātou mai i tēnei ata. I ringi a mātou mai i tēnei ata, i tēnei wā, i tēnei tau. Nō reire te atua kai raro mātou i roto i tō ingoa. Ai arahi ai tōtō i ringi a mātou i tēnei rā. Ko i arai rongo tūturi whakamau aka. Tēnā. Aumi e hui e tā.
Kia ora Ken. Kei a korua. Arepeta rangati. Mihi mai ki a koutou. Now, before we kick in, I will set you people all in the mood with a lovely video from Te Puia, explaining what you can do and what you can't do. So, hoi anō.
Tēnā koutou katoa and welcome to Te Puia. Look, I'm so glad you're here for your event, but there's just a few things that I need to mention to keep you safe. Now, just because you're outside the whare doesn't mean you can spark up or wind up or any up. It's all out. Aroha mai. Now, I hope you guys are having a good time so far. I know you are. But if there's any dramas or emergencies, yeah, we're going to have to show you how to get out of here. You can go this way or this way. If you've made it this far, you're still alive, but you're not out of the Puia yet. Keep calm and carry on to the assembly point. Now, this is for the wanderers. You know, the ones that like to do their own thing and break away from the pack. Yeah. Aroha mai. So, this is for the wanderers. You know, the ones that like to run. Stay with your team, stay with your guide. Try not to run and hide. Now that you're here in the valley, you must stay behind the barriers, because if you end up in the hot pool, we end up naming it after you and you're out. Don't be that guy, Zo. This is the New Zealand Māori Arts and Crafts Institute. This space is a very tapu, sacred, which means we can't bring any food or drink into this space. Well, that's it from me. Look, I hope you have a good time. Be merry, be fairy, but hey, be wary. Go well, and we'll see you next time.
I knew you'd enjoy that. Now, look, I'm mindful today, people, we do have people online. So it's important that for those who are going to be speaking, use the mic. Likewise, if there are potentially any questions from the floor, please use the microphone. And that's for the benefit of our whānau that are online. So without further ado, I'd like to call for apologies. I've got a list of apologies received so far, and unless we've received no further ones, I'll just announce, and I'll probably start with some apologies from two of our board members who are Maiwiwi today, Rwana Bennett and Niwa Nuri, unfortunately, are unable to be here present with us today. And I have 4 others: Joe Edwards, Taniel Edwards, Waratini Walters, Kim Richards. Are there any further apologies from the floor? Nidia Pirika? Oh, Nidia Pirika. Whārangi Waitford. Kia ora. Somebody down the back there. Hannah Clayton Evans. Oh, she's here. I won't accept that that apology. Okay, if there's no further apologies, I'll Ngata Tapsel is also an apology, and Tanira Kingi and David Tapsel. With that lot, I'd like to call the resolution that those apologies be accepted. Can I have a mover? Rangatihi Pene, seconded. Oh, yeah, can you state your name, please? Ona Verko, kia ora. Koutou, e whakai ana, ki mai ai. Koutou e whakai ana, ki mai kao. Abstentions? Carried. Aye. Minutes of our previous meeting. We'll start with page 1. Page 1. Kei te pai. Page 2. Page 3, which is page 10 on our booklets. Page 4, or the 4th page, which is page 11 in our booklets. Oh, Arawa mai lika, I'll just reinforce, if for those who are speaking, please grab a mic. We've got runners here. Do you want please repeat your question. You got it. Ka pai. Okay, and we're on our last page. Oh, page 11. Bye. If there's no queries, I'd like to move acceptance of previous minutes for 2021. Can I have a mover, please? Moved Arapeta Tahana, seconded. Seconder, please. Doodle Flavel. All those in favour, aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Right. Gosh, we move on to my report. Okay, I'll take the podium. Morning, everybody. Pleased to see you all here this morning, and I also wish to acknowledge those who are online, viewing our hui online. Ngā mihi ki a koutou. Look, I've been told I have to read it, so look, for those of you who are tinana mai, aroha mai, bear with me. I will read my report as expeditiously as I can and quickly. So I'll just start. And I'd like to start with the appointment of our new board. And we have appointed three new board members in this term: Te Ururo Flavel, Arapeta Tahana, and Georgina Fata. I would also like to acknowledge Rangi Media Ihakara, who was on the board previously for her term on the board and was sad to lose her calibre and humility in our team. I wish her every success in her future opportunities. I'd just like to comment that we're very fortunate having the calibre and the expertise of our current board makeup, and I find it very comforting to know that we have that support and that knowledge going forward and supporting our wonderful operational team. Now, with the loss of Tātobi, the growth of Te Arawa Lakes Trust, the government reforms and a new board, it has been a challenging but rewarding governance space. It is fitting to acknowledge the tireless efforts of all our trustees that dedicate hours of unremunerated time between our scheduled monthly board meetings. It is also timely to recognise at this time the long overdue, and I mentioned 12 years, revision of trustee fees, and look forward to the support from the floor today for this to occur. Together we work to uphold our settlement, support a thriving taiao, and serve our people. The next item I want to talk about is our strategic planning. Our new board has undertaken a review of the strategic plan and has developed a new strategic framework based on 6 pau. I won't go into too much detail other than our 6 pau, te tau ihu, mana te Arawa, te ihu, te aki moana, te aki taiao, te rauawa, mana tahua, te hoi taiki, mana whakahono, te kei, whakamana ngā iwi me ngā hapu, te taurapa, mana whakahaere. I'd just like to acknowledge the big contribution for developing the framework from Arapeta, Tahana, Te Ururo Flavel, and Roana Bennett. I'll move on to the growth of our organisation, and we've in the last few years we've been experiencing exceptional growth. This financial year has seen significant growth within Te Arawa Lakes Trust, with our staff numbers increasing from 40 to 130 plus. This has been driven in the main by the establishment in August 2021 of the new YMI call centre, numerous new projects within the taiao team, exciting new projects with our Pou Whakawhirinaki team combined with our operations team have presented new employment opportunities for our people. The Jobs for Nature, our UFIMAT project, and our Tarawera Collective Impact projects continue to support our mahi on our lakes. The success of the UFIMAT project is showing the benefits of mātauranga and science working together with an overall effect of reduced weed and an increase in native plant and aquatic life and well-being in our roto. We continue to gain ground in the areas of climate change and consenting, and our work continues in the environmental policy and reform setting. COVID-19. COVID-19 continued to impact on our organisation and our people. Te Arawa Lakes Trust remained in the space as coordinator in vaccine and support of those with COVID-19 until early 2022. We continue supporting people through our call centre operation and the work of Pou Whakawhirinaki team supporting rats and masks. Now, what was it, rats? That was the rapid antigen testing. Government reforms. This year has seen significant government reform in three waters, resource management, RM reforms, rights and interests in fresh water, and of course, local government reforms. We continue to stay engaged in the consultation process as these changes potentially have long-reaching impacts on our settlement and rights and interests. We now co-lead the Secretariat on behalf of Three Waters and Entity B, renamed by Tā Te Manawa o Ngā Wai, and that's our Entity B. And for those of you who are not aware, Entity B, it extends from Karen, from Tainui in the north to right down to Ngāti Awa, whānau Apanui. So it's a big juggernaut with about 62 councils. How many marae and hapu? 701 hapu, so it's a big collective. And we're so fortunate that it was through Tā that renamed that Entity B Te Manawa o Ngā Wai. Now, our Te Arawa Lakes representation model. Last year, the board undertook to go out to the people for feedback on potential models that ensure all of Te Arawa is represented on the board. Unfortunately, COVID again halted our plans, and these hui are now planned for early 2023. We are aiming to present options at the 2023 AGM, but we'll be conducting a series of hui during the course of 2023, potentially about 3 or 4 on this kaupapa. We will continue the kōrero to 2024, and we will be looking to arrive at a position, all going well, and report back at our AGM in 2024. So at that point, I'll move on to the second, my next item on my report is the Mana Moana project. And this segues and ties into the representation kaupapa. The board has engaged Ben Manley to research who has mana over each of the lakes from the Māori Land Court records. We will present the results of this at the AGM. Oh, it says in December 2022, it'll be December 2023. It's a little error there. And it will be shared with all iwi hapu. Again, a big kaupapa for us all. At this point, I'd like to acknowledge our Te Arawa management, our commercial arm for the organisation. We continue to be pleased with the performance of our subsidiary, Te Arawa Management Limited, who are responsible for growing the asset base that allows the trust to function. Te Arawa Management Limited's diversification and growth strategy under the guidance of Chair Mana Newton, that fellow in the white shirt there, Commercial Manager Cassandra Crowley, that beautiful wahine sitting beside Mana, and the rest of the board, and smart use of shared resources at an operational level has seen the group perform well through the last few years. We also continue to enjoy a close working relationship with our commercial arm and value the positive contribution they make to the overall operation of our business. Finally, I'd be amiss not to acknowledge our CE, our Chief Executive, Karen Vercoe, for her leadership and dedication to our organisation. Karen, you've grown Te Arawa Lakes Trust into the successful organisation it is today, and it is your tenacity and ability to capitalise on opportunities that positions us well into the future. Also a big mihi to our Te Arawa Lakes Trust whānau, our team, our big team. Big mihi to you all for their energy and passion, for their work and the manaki for our people. Together we achieve great things. E kore, e mimiti te tai o tangi ki a koe te piki kōtuku o te Arawa e. Kia ora koutou. So, can I have a mover for my chair's report? A mover, away, name. Hariata Kōnunu. Kōnunu, kia ora Hariata. Seconder, Rangatihi Pene. All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Be amiss to any questions, Carl? Patai? Oh, Cyrus. There's a microphone there, Cyrus.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. You said the Mana Moana report will be presented at next year's AGM, not this year's AGM. Will that report be available for the consultation who you're having next year prior to the 2023 AGM? Because I would think that would help the deliberations of iwi.
Yes, all going well. I'd like to think it will be available, Cyrus. Aye. Patai anō? Kia ora. Okay. Moving on to a report from our commercial arm, Te Arawa Management Limited. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, tuatahi, mihi atu ki ngā rangatira ki te timata o tēnei hui o te karakia, me te mihi ki a tātaubi, me te mihi atu ki a koutou katoa, te Arawa waka. Ko mana Newton tuku ingoa, no te iwi o Ngāti Tahu Ngāti Whaoa, me te roro te rangi. Nō reira, no te whānau o Rewati, ki a Reparo, me te whānau o Galvin o Karawana, ki a te roro te rangi. Nō reira, te Arawa waka, tēnā koutou, kia ora koutou katoa. For those that don't know, born and raised in the beautiful, wonderful, glorious place of Reparo. If you're not sure where it is, our current All Black captain is from there. I can say that now because we've won a few games. Hard to say that 6 months ago, but kia ora whānau. And whakapapa also to Te Roro Tarangi, and like many of us in here, Te Arawa katoa. Just grateful to be able to be part of the Te Arawa waka moving forward and been part of Tamil now for about 5 or 6 years. I'll jump on to our slides. What I'm going to do is talk about sort of the overall asset management and then some of the strategies, and I'll leave the detailed numbers to Glenn at the end there, who will talk about the financials later on. But overall, if you remember, if you've been coming to our AGMs, we've been talking about this concept of diversification, growing our assets, but focusing on that growth to make sure that our biggest asset are our people, and being able to use money as a vehicle to help people. So we started on that journey a little while ago, and we've been moving along that pathway. One of the things that we jumped into real early is we had a lot of some farms and some properties and things like that, and we've grown quite a bit in horticulture around orchards, and then we've also added more into our properties as well. Because what it is, it's important to note that whenever things get tough, if you diversify and you have lots of different assets, then hopefully they're not all tough at the same time. Then hopefully some of them are able to still perform well enough while it's tough for other industries. And that's what we've been trying to do and trying to build up over the last little while. And I'll talk about that a little bit later too. And to those online, kia ora koutou. mihi atu ki a koutou katoa. I'll jump onto our next slide. Most of you know we purchased Maketu pies. It was going through liquidation. This is about 2 to 3 years ago. One of the major reasons why we purchased Maketu pies is because if a Maketu pie is high as about 30 to 40 of our whānau out there. And if they went into liquidation, Maketu would have lost 30 to 40 jobs. And so we purchased that when it was in liquidation. Can report back to say that the assets have grown, the performance has increased. There's been a lot of support, guidance, and help that Cassandra and the team have been able to provide. And this year we should be turning a profit now with Maketu pies. I always show in a Christmas pitch that pies are just awesome stocking fillers. So whānau, you have to pay for them, but please go out to Maketu and get you some Christmas stocking fillers for your kids. Just love them, mate. You know, they open up, oh, Maketu pies. Wow, you thought about me, Dad. Yeah, definitely support our business, and that is your business. That's Te Arawa's business going forward. And it's really more than supporting the business, it's supporting the town of Maketu, which is our whakapapa and our whenua as well. Jumping into our next slide, we reported back a couple of years ago that we purchased into a nursery called Te Arawa Tipu, which we called Te Arawa Tipu. This nursery has got a brand called Colourworks, and it provides all of the, if you've gone into Bunnings and places like that, it's funny because my dad never goes into Bunnings because he just takes the natives from the side of the road. But if you pay for them legally and you go through the right channels, we don't sell natives, but they're beautiful flowers. So for those that are into gardening, please support that brand and that label as well. But it is our business, Te Arawa's business, that we've invested into. And one of the kaupapa around that as well is we really want to invest into businesses that could have a long-term strategic play with Te Arawa Lakes Trust. As you know, Te Arawa Lakes Trust, and from the mahi that they've talked about, there's quite a lot of planting and quite a lot of natives that Te Arawa Lakes Trust is going into. And so there's a natural fit, hopefully, that we can strategize together moving forward. Because natives are probably easier for our whānau than flowers and roses and stuff like that. But that's one of the strategies for Te Arawa Tipu, is for us to continue on that path. I want to acknowledge our team. So one of our big strategies a few years ago was to start to build and to diversify. And we looked at it realistically and we said, well, we need the capability, we need the capacity, and we also need to be able to build up scale. And to be able to do that, it is really, really hard to do that without internal capability. So the first person I want to mihi to is actually Glenn. So Glenn carried Te Arawa Lakes Trust and Te Arawa Management through as we were maturing up to have that ability to be able to build our team. And without Glenn there supporting us as a Te Arawa business as well, supporting a Te Arawa group like ours, there's no way we would have had the ability to be able to mature over into being able to build our own team. So Glenn, mihi atu ki a koe e te rangatira for your mahi. You've always been a huge supporter of Te Arawa Lakes Trust and Te Arawa Management Limited, and you've been a big help in supporting our team. From there, we brought in Cassandra, who's our commercial manager, CE or leader of our group. And as you can see by that beautiful picture in front of you, we believe in mana wahine very, very strongly. We tautoko it 100%, literally. So, and we have built up this amazing mana wahine team. Sorry, it's not a mana wahine team, it's a team that just so happens to be mana wahine because they're amazing. This is GHA. But to be honest, it's just such an honor to work around such amazing people who have built up and are so passionate. These people love your assets, your people, your holistic view of the world as much as we do, if not more. And I just have to acknowledge them all for the mahi that they've put in. I'd also like to acknowledge, as part of building up your own internal capability, the relationship between Te Arawa Management Limited, and Jeff alluded to this before, and Te Arawa Lakes Trust, it has to be super close because we have to be able to build that internal capability. So over the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've been really working strongly about building up that internal capability in the relationship. And it's an interesting dynamic because you've got to work together, but also each group has their own mandate and their own responsibility. And so you've got to look to where you can share that capability. But I mihi to Karen, to her team, for being able to work with our team really closely and to be able to build up that internal capability. I also want to, before I go forward, just mihi to Tanira. So Tanira has actually been here for 9, close to 10 years as a director of Te Arawa Management Limited. I think Te Arawa Management Limited was set up around 2008, 7 or 8. So out of the life of Te Arawa Management Limited, Tanira really is a granddad. Not in age, but definitely in wisdom. But he's been here throughout that whole journey, and this year he's rotated off Te Arawa Management Limited, and so has Jeff as well, with his chair role for Te Arawa Lakes Trust. And we've built in and introduced a couple of new members, one Georgina Fata and the other one being Ngata Tapsell. Outside of that, we also have David Tapsell, myself, and Rowana Bennett, and that's our team. So it's not a big board, but it's a board that is able to move and be flexible and to support our operations team. And again, it's all part of that journey, because it's about building up the capability of Te Arawa, building up the capability of Talt and Tamil internally, so that we can be in a position so that when these assets and this growth and this holistic stuff happens, we've got that ability to be able to deliver on that as well. So it's been a journey that we've gone through. So, but again, just want to mihi to Tanira and to Jeff for their time as board members. So the assets, again, I won't go into too much details because Glenn will cover this off as well. But we've gone from into an asset base of 141 million. And I'm going to steal a line here from Marapita, because it's not necessarily about the asset base. And he put it so eloquently when he simply said to us, it's about turning wealth into well-being and wellness for our people. And that really is what we're trying to do within Te Arawa Management Limited, is work close enough so that that $141 million asset balance actually means something to our people on the ground. And it's not just a number that we put on a shelf or on a balance sheet way away and go, oh, look at it, it keeps growing. But we actually have impact and implication for our whānau lives. And that's why that relationship with Te Arawa Lakes Trust is so important. I'll jump into our next slide there. Oh man, these slides just make accountants' hearts just, skip a beat. We just love these types of slides. They're amazing. Just look at that. If you don't understand that, just really, just look at that in pride. But as you can see, the general idea of this slide is that we are building up that diversity of the different portfolios around. We're building up horticulture, property. We've got our farms. We've got some cash-related investments such as equities. And therefore, to that point before, if things go bad, usually not all 5 or 6 industries will go bad together. And we will have times where they do go bad. And so that's what that demonstrates, is how we're spreading those assets around our asset base. Jumping into our next slide. If you thought the last one was amazing, this is even better. What this shows us really is that one of the key kaupapa that we have is, even though we're directors of a commercial entity, we are all Te Arawa and we're all Māori, which means that we have a ngākau Māori for the way that we think about investments. And so we've taken those settlement assets and we've said we do not want to put any risk on those settlement assets. And we've always tried to make sure that whatever assets we have, we could sell them and pay off debt if we needed to, and that we wouldn't have to ever go into settlement assets, because the mana of those settlement assets for us is a pou that we can never shake. So what we do is, when we look at investments, we make sure that we measure what are investments that are available for sale, and also what are investments that we believe are legacy that we would never ever want to depart of. And so this is a bit of a balancing act of those assets. And this is not an accounting standard or anything like this. This is a tikanga lens that we've put over the asset base. I'll jump onto our next slide real quick. This slide here demonstrates that point again. If you have a look at the liabilities is basically, it's our mortgages. If we sold everything off, that's what we would have to pay. And if you have a look at the blue line, that blue line there represents what's known as available for sale. So the assets that are available for sale are far, far greater than the liabilities that we have. And then if you have a look at that red line there, and that's our legacy assets. Those are the assets that we receive through settlement, through our whakapapa and our taonga tuku iho. So therefore, we'd never ever want to put those assets into jeopardy or to risk. And so therefore, that's how we sort of manage growth, but we try to manage that growth in a very, very sustainable way for the future. Now the stuff that's the most important, our fishing licenses. We've been able to support our fishing licenses this year. We look after that putia of the fishing licenses, and we're able to provide 344 individual and whānau applications. It's funny that, because out of those 344, no one brought me back a fish. But maybe I should put my hand up and go and stop being lazy and get my own. But it's a really awesome kaupapa for our kaumātua, for our rangatahi, for our kids coming through to be able to provide that fishing license for our whānau. Our last slide, I think. So that's our report. We do have a little video because, it gets a little bit data picture looking. And so we've got a little video because at the end of the day, we can't do our mahi without acknowledging the people on the ground. Business is not about money. Business is about people. And if you don't have a relationship with the people on the ground and they don't understand that they are the most important thing of what we're doing, then we're all lost, right? And so for us, we just wanted to put something together that highlights a bit of your whenua, some of the assets that you're part of, but also the people that are involved in looking after your father's assets as well. So I'll let this play, and I'm sure there's no questions, so kia ora koutou.
We make between 35 and 40,000 pies a week, and we have around about 30 staff most of the time. Some of them are part-time, a lot of full-time. It's a different environment to a normal profit run organisation where they actually look after the people that are here. They are their people. So it makes them feel a bit of ownership. But if they're feeling comfortable and they're coming to work and they're happy here, you're not just put in a little corner and you just do your job and don't say anything and do nothing else. It's sort of like we try and work to people's strengths. We know who's got family and where they have to be on different times of the day or the year, so everybody's got to, they've got to fit in.
The values that Te Arawa has in terms of being kaitiakis of the land, looking after people, he tātou, the values that they have align with the values that we have, and for us it really was a natural fit, and so it was, we were really rapt to be offered the job because it really is the dream job for us. We enjoy working on the land, we enjoy working with animals, and we enjoy working with the people as well.
Foxhaven is one of a number of orchards that Tamil has bought over the last 5 years that aren't on our corpus lands. So we made a decision to buy orchards that help to improve our cash flow and help grow our balance sheet.
Kia ora whānau, I should have just played that at the start and not said anything, eh? But sorry, I do want to, before I finish, just mihi to Cassandra. Cassandra, you are an amazing individual. You work so hard on this kaupapa, and I just want to mihi to you for being able to build not only what we've seen in front of us, but your team and everybody involved. So mihi atu ki a koe te rangatira, and I'm happy to take any questions. Awesome. I love that.
Okay, This time I'd like to move the resolution, acceptance of the Te Arawa Management Limited annual report. Can I have a mover, please? Arapeta Tahana, seconded. Right. How do you? Ona. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Kia ora. Thank you, Mana, for that enlightening report. And now I'd like to move on to Ken Roriti and his Komiti Whakahaere report. Kia ora, Ken.
Tēnā no tātou. Mana Newton. Mana Wahine. Sounds a bit different. Mana Moana. And Cyrus acknowledged the question that you asked about the report that's going to be presented around Mana Moana next year and what input iwi will have into that, because who's going to go out to Okataina and say, ko te rā te mana o mea? Who's going to go to Rotuiti and say, ko te mana o Rotuiti ko mea? And dare I say, who's going to come out to Tarawera, out to Au, and say, ko te mana o te roto ko mea? So, Cyrus, thank you for that question, for raising it, because I'm sure it's a thought that goes down on all of us when we talked about the mana of our lakes, the mana of roto kākehi, the mana of Tarawera, of Rera Whakaitu, Okaro, roto mahana, roto iti, roto rua, neera, o reira tēnā koe. Acknowledge the generosity of Mana Newton and the stocking fillers, 10 pies for a gold coin. He pai tērā, that's what stocking fillers are, right? You know, you get 10 for the price of, yeah, 1. Kia ora, kia ora. Tika ana ki te maumahara a rātou, ko whetūrangi ti hoki whakaro ki a tātou bi ai, ka tika. Mai, a woki atu, me maumara me purupuroa ki a rātou. Ai rungi tērā whakaro, a tika, ki te maumara ki te mihi ki te purupuroa ki te whānau emri, kia wili tērā, kia mātou rangatira wili. Nā te mātauranga o wili o tira o ngā tipiki au, ka tau mai tēnei te komiti whakahaere o te Arawa. Nō reira, i te whānau, i te rangatira wili, haere, a woki atu. And ka huri anō ki a tātou e hui tai nei, hari ko te ngākau. I raru e te rurahau o pohatu o tūturu, tai atu ki te puaringa e rere ake nei atu ki a roturua nui a kahumata mamai. Ko tātou tērā, nō reira, tēnā tātou. Amongst the maumahara, but in a different context, I just want to acknowledge our previous chair of the Komiti Whakahaere, ko Lawrence Tera, and, he uri o ngā tipiki au hoki, but ngā tipiki au, ma te whaora, roto iti, nei te mihi, Lawrence. Komiti Whakahaere don't have much fun, so there's no video, there's no presentation. Kei raro te te pūmātau o te Komiti Whakahaere mō ngā toinga i tākoto ki rungi a tātou. Just a little bit of background, really, and to touch on my report. In 2006, Komiti Whakahaere was established under the Te Arawa Lake Settlement Act. And whatever, the Komiti Whakahaere, ko te mahi nunui o tātou, ko ngā mahi pāna ki ngā ika taonga, ngā taonga species o a mātou roto. The taonga ika, the taonga species that we're talking about are kōro, kaura, tuna, inanga, kākahi, and murihana. So there are 6 taonga species within our lakes that we are guardians of, harvesters of mana over. Within those, since that period, Te Arawa, we have worked together to establish regulations on how to safely harvest, how to safely sustain our fishery. And within that, we have developed a he mahere whakahaere, a strategic, a plan, regulations, and puka whakamana. Ia tēnei te puka whakamana. Puka whakamana, like if you go over to get 16 bags of mussels for hui, you need to get a permit or an authority to say so. Puka whakamana is just that. If you want to harvest, and people want to harvest any kai other than trout on our lakes, ko te mana o tērā, ko te committee whakahaere. The committee whakahaere, Pouchiri au, the iwi, the hapu, are the authority to issue those permits, those puka whakamana. So that's been a significant part of our work. Another piece of work that we've done in the year is after landing the regulations, it took us a number of years, but like regulations, they somewhat became outdated quite quickly. But actually the outdatedness was around the movement of, like issuing puka whakamana, issuing licenses, issuing the authority to go and do it. In the old days, you'll ring up so-and-so and they'll write out a permit and you go and pick it up, and if the ranger asks you, you just show them your little thing. That's almost going to be a thing of the past, like how many of you will remember 15 years ago when we talked about a cashless society and we thought it was crazy? Who's going to walk around without cash? We've all got cash in our pockets. But now you have this thing called paywave, bing, bing. Well, electronic issuing of puka whakamana is not catered for within the regulations. Therefore, we aren't able to do it. Therefore, we're stuck in a almost a prehistoric system of ring up rangiti pene, get a form filled out, come around home, pick it up, sign it, da 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 da. So we're currently in the throes of working through, I'm going to say, midi, massaging some of the changes and whatever to the regulations. That's one. Another change to the regulations that we're working through the Minister of Fisheries with is within there's only a 48-hour window of a period, a window for us, for iwi, to harvest, to go out and ramatuna, kaura and whatever. Now, it's our view that that period is not, doesn't serve our needs and our authority and our mana as it should. Excuse me. It's our view that iwi, whānau, hapu, should have authority to harvest on their lake, on our lake, on your lake, throughout the year, maybe for periods of 6 months, and then have a renewal of it. So we're working through the ministry and the Minister of Fisheries to try and bring about some of these changes. It's a work in progress. We have a number of pouchiri au. Pouchiri au can issue and what have you, like honorary kaitiaki pouchiri au of our lakes. Every lake, every hapu, every marae, we all have our hunter-gatherers, kaitiaki. I look down here, Jim and Koruatahi. We have them everywhere around our lakes. Just because your name's not down here doesn't mean you aren't and don't have a kaitiaki responsibility and you have that authority. But the names of the registered are Peter Manahi, Peter Moke, Stephen Henry, Robbie Trotman, Rangiti Pene, Cyrus Hingston, Terry Tapsell, William Manaru, Lawrence Tamati, Rowana Bennett, and myself. But we aren't the, we're just the backstops. The Gecko is with the hapu. We need more kaitiaki, pautiri au, hunga kirangi te komiti whakaere. E tai a te momo mahi pāna ki ngā ki te mahi o te komiti. Throughout our lakes, we're trying to raise the education and the awareness of take, of limits, of threats into the lake, the threats of catfish, So far, they're only in Ngāti Pikiau and Ngāti Whakaui, only in Rotuiti and Rotorua. So part of it is to actually is signage, is education, and working together with Nikki's team, with Karen's team, with the Lakes Trust, with William Manaru's team, that are actually out there in the taiao in our environment doing fantastic work, and mihi kauna ki a rātou. That includes signage. I go out to Tarawera most days of the week, and if I wasn't here right now, I woke up he rangi mokopuni I tēnei ata. I looked outside and I thought, but I won't be on Tarawera today. I've got to come, I'm in here. But out of Tarawera, the signs went up and they got smashed off almost overnight. And I wondered to myself, is this a reaction and a kickback at us as iwi, exercising our authority over our lakes? Or was it just a little bit of sort of like hooliganism and what have you? And I tend to, I better keep my thoughts to myself, but I think there is some pushback around Te Arawa exercising our mana roto and our teams that are working there. In saying that, there has actually also been positive reports and feedback coming through from William's team, from Nikki's team, and from the Lakes Trust, mahi overall. So in one quarter, we're getting the anti-pushback, and in the other quarter, we're getting it coming to the forefront that people are starting to recognise and realise that ko te mana o ngā mātou roto, ko te Arawa tērā, ko te Arawa Lakes Trust tērā, ko tātou tērā. That's my quarter about the signage. I've mentioned we have and vacancies and whatever, and our vacancies are unpaid, so you don't get the nice videos. But the vacancies we have are for kanohi kitia, for people to be out and about and to be raising awareness and doing the mahi out there. Finally, just to further acknowledge, Karen, you and your team, you do us proud, so thank you very, very much. Jeff, keep doing it. To Nikki, Nikki's just, I don't know how she makes 26 hours into 24 or 32, but Nikki, I just want to acknowledge your support and your extreme mahi that you do on behalf of Te Arawa. And also William and his team. William's got a team of grafters, hard workers, committed, out in the environment and conditions and what have you, sunny days like today, but in also crappy weather. William, if you and your team, I see some of your team here, mihi nui, mihi kawana, mihi mai oha, kia koutou. Tēnā tātou. Oh, sorry, are there any questions? Kia ora.
I just want to know who is responsible for calling a harbour master onto the lakes during the fishing season, because I don't go out, but my daughter goes out for us, and she's always getting abused while she's fly fishing on the lake, on Lake Rotuiti.
Harbour Master responsibilities currently rest with the Regional Council, Bay Plenty Regional Council. So when you see the boats out there, Maritime New Zealand, and you know they're blue and white and what have you, that's Harbour Master. But actually, it's our moimoia, and it actually is going to happen, Jeff, that we will have our own harbour masters. I don't even like that word, but our own maritime te Arawa, ki rungi a Mātou Lakes, our Mātou Rui. So the only picture that we had is a picture of the first boat that the Te Arawa Lakes Trust has got. It's below my report. And that's only a little 5-metre runabout that we all go fishing in. But it's the first of the fleet. So let us remember it. And it's called Koura. So great question. But the question goes all the way back to kaihea te mana o a mātou roto, kei runga I a tātou.
Yes, and so why don't you go to Ministry of Fisheries and tell them it's our mana. You gave our 14 lakes back to us.
A work in progress, aye. And it happens and it happens. 2022. Let's make it by Christmas. Oh, yeah. But seriously, absolutely tautoko that 100%. It is a work in progress. It is something that conversations have been had. It is an exercise of our mana over our lakes. And we've got a little dinghy at the moment called Koura, but actually those maritime boats will be replaced by, we've got another one coming, eh, Nikki? Yeah, we've also got one new one coming. So we're gradually building up the fleet, the Te Arawa Armada.
Kia ora, Ken, ko Mariana tēnei. I just have a question regarding the Komiti Whakahaere representation model. I'm aware.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Mariana. I'll put my ear to the microphone. It didn't work.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. My question is Komiti Whakahaere representation model for the election process that's going to be carried out, I assume, next year. Would that also include perhaps a review of the representation?
Oh, Mariana, I beg your pardon. Honestly, I can't hear. Nikki, did you hear the question? Oh.
We currently have one vacancy for Kawatapuarangi Tupuna Rohe on the Komiti Whakahaere, and the Komiti Whakahaere will put up their process for election at the same time as the board elections occur in 2024.
Mariana, sorry. So is that all right? Did that answer? Yeah. You know, are there any other questions, whānau? I'll finish with something else from Mana Newton and Arapeta, actually, about wealth. It's not about wealth, it's about well-being. Well, as you would have seen now, I'm a bit deaf and I need some hearing aids.
What? Kia ora, Ken. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll move the resolution that the Te Komiti Whakahaere 2022 annual report is received and accepted. Do I have a mover? Alan Tamati, seconder. Cyrus Hingston. Kia ora. All in favour, aye? Against? Carried. Okay, we now move on to the Chief Executive's report. Kia ora, Karen.
Rau rangatira mā tēnā tātou katoa, ngā koe ki o Te Arawa, tēnā koutou, me te puari tēnā koutou katoa. It gives me great pleasure to present my CEO report for 2022. And after listening to everyone here, I almost feel like I should just show the video because then you can see Ken with our new waka that we purchased. But I just want to say in my report, I talk about Toby, and I'm not going to start talking about him because I felt a little bit teary this morning, but have felt incredibly blessed to have spent time with just an incredible man over the last 5 years. At times I didn't feel blessed because he would ring me at 6:30 a.m. in the morning and tell me that we needed to go and do something, of which I had a whole calendar organised, but that needed to be thrown out. But certainly the opportunities to sit with him and, you know, in meetings with ministers where he really firmly asserted, as Ken has said, and many of you have felt, and I can take from, is the fact that we own our wai, that these lakes are ours. And whilst last year Toby stood up before all of us and said that we were looking to go through a devolution model, you know, that is certainly something that we're looking at, and I'm very proud of the board who have undertaken the Mana Moana report, and certainly the opportunity to share that report with our different hapu and iwi through our consultation process. So time with Toby has been precious, but as he always said, you know, let the dead be with the dead and the living be with the living, and girl, you've got a lot of work to do. So today I'm really pleased to talk about the mahi of our team. And just like, and I have to stand up here and acknowledge my fabulous Black Ferns, who won the World Cup under immense pressure and variable odds. You know, I think about our team, and I might be standing here as the chief executive, but firmly understand that I'm just one player in the team. So just want to acknowledge my staff that are here, acknowledge my senior leadership team. And so everything that I'm going to talk to you about actually has been either a direction from the board or the magic of my team who have made things happen. So I'm going to quickly skip through stuff, have questions, and then we've got a video to play to you all. So as you've all heard throughout this morning, we are so blessed to have an incredible environment manager, Nikki Douglas, and also her own team who have done some incredible things. So they've not only made an impact on the ground, and I think we all know about the catfish killers, and that's William Manaru and his team. You know, the engagement that they've had across all of our kura, our kohanga reo, and the work that they've done to eradicate these particular pest fish. Whilst we understand that this is a huge issue for us, you know, we really want to make sure that catfish don't enter any of our other lakes. And so it's been a massive amount of work, and I know that William's here today, so I just want to mihi to you, William, and to Nikki. But whilst they've been doing the cool stuff, Nikki has actually been battling, as you said, Ellen, around having those hard discussions with MPI. Well, Nikki has certainly been at the forefront of those, having very hard discussions with Ministry for the Environment, very hard discussions with Department of Internal Affairs around Three Waters and the RM reforms. And so really our team have been starting to cover the breadth and the depth of everything to do with the environment. I also want to mihi and acknowledge our wetland team. You know, they're the ones that are out there every day. They get to do the really cool stuff. You know, we get to talk about doing things, but they do some amazing work in terms of, you know, turning perhaps unloved whenua back into, you know, what it should be, particularly around our wetlands. Also want to just talk about the other work that Nikki's team have done. So we're really pleased to have grown that team. And we started, you know, there were only a few of us when we started about 5 years ago, but we now have got a large team that, again, crosses the breadth and depth of the Taiao work. They've also been incredibly influential in winning the hearts and minds of our people. And so that's been a very clear strategy from us. When we start talking about ownership of the wai, often that creates really negative connotations. And Ken has spoken to you about some of the kickback that we're receiving from some of our community that don't whakapapa here. So, you know, it's about showing people that we're not being exclusive. So when we talk about the wai, and I'm happy that this is being broadcast because I said exactly the same thing at Toby's funeral, his tangi. You know, it's not being exclusive. So we don't want the wai solely for commercial benefits. We don't want the wai solely to exclude people or our communities that have grown up here. Really, it's about saying that we are the best kaitiaki along with some of our community groups. And I just mihi to you, Auntie and Uncle Mary and Uncle Jim. You've been fighting that battle, certainly at Rotuiti, for many years. You know, so it's about how do we collectively do things together. So to any of our Pākehā colleagues who might be watching this online, you know, we're welcoming you into the tent so that we can do this collaboratively together. Just in terms of our whānau hapua niwi, Taparoto's small team have done some incredible things this year. And I know you're going to hear this word incredible, amazing, but really the work of our team has just been stunning. So Pau Whakawhirinaki, really we're looking at, I think the words we mentioned this morning, wealth is about wellness and working with our people. So Taparoto's team has been directly responsible for that. So they helped out with COVID. And with COVID, we also had other organisations that we worked with. So in the first edition of COVID, we were mandated by the whole of Te Arawa Hapu, and we worked with everyone from Tapuika, Waitaha, Ngāti Mākino, Ngāti Rangitahi, also kept in touch with our relations at Ngāti Tūwharetoa as well. And the next iteration of COVID actually involved working with our Haora services. So just want to mihi to Korowai Aroha and Hariata and her team, to Parehuia, e Ngāti Pakiao, and then mainly predominantly to Te Arawa Whānau Ora. So we stepped out and Te Arawa Whānau Ora picked up that space, and just want to mihi to all of those organisations and people that helped to support that mahi. Really excitingly though, Taparoto and his team, and we'll present this next year, but it's been so cool, I just want to talk about it now, is we've been able to secure some pūtea through Te Arawhiti, and we've gone out to over 50 marae. We've been able to help and support each of those marae to get their own marquees, so that if they want to do their own testing, COVID testing, using RATS tests to make sure that their events are safe and they're not spreader events. So we've been able to get around and really pleased with Taparoto and his team in terms of working there. As well, we've been supporting our Māori businesses, so we understand that these have been really tough times for our Māori businesses, and so they've been able to, to distribute RATS tests so that they can help to make sure that their staff stay COVID-free, as well as masks and hand sanitizers. And we've also done that into all of the kura. And so, we talk about engagement. Well, that team in particular have worked at every level of engagement and done it, with humour, with smiles on their faces. So I really mihi to that team. This year, as you've heard, we added on, in the last financial year, we added on our Waiamai call centre. And so a little bit of history about that. Obviously, in the first iteration of COVID, we were involved with contact tracing. We were very unhappy with the fact that there were lots of Pākehā call centres that were actually trying to contact our people. They couldn't say our names, they couldn't say our kupu or our words. And so we, through a very fortuitous meeting at the Ministry of Health, we met up with an organisation called Whakarongoro, who started a discussion with us about having our own call centre. At the same time, through our contacts through the National Iwi Chairs Forum, we had the opportunity to talk to Ngāpuhi, who had had their own call centre for a period of time, as well as to Tai Whenua o Heretaunga, Ngāti Kahungunu. And so we were able to miri a contract out of the ministry so that we could provide our own call centre services here in Te Arawa. That also came out as a result of I'm not too sure if many people remember the Noataha COVID card trial. And again, our whānau in Noataha were being contacted by non-Māori whānau from around the motu. And again, they were upset that they didn't have people who could pronounce their names and say their street names. And so we set up Waiamai. We actually set it up here in August 21. To be honest, we weren't quite sure what we were doing, but we knew we had this passionate, amazing, fantastic team who, and I just mihi to Laurie Watt for the great work that she did, as well as her people leaders. So we set that up during a lockdown. I don't know anyone else that set up a business during lockdown. And that business employs over 60 of our whānau. And so we talk about, business is not about wealth, business is about people. And so very pleased that we've achieved those results. In the book, you'll see this lovely Pākehā man standing with our team. We were very fortunate to host Ashley Bloomfield, who had heard about the mahi of our staff and decided to come along. We held a little hui for him to thank him for all of his support. And for us in the background, I said at the hui that I would often text Ashley to ask him what's going on, to make sure that us in Te Arawa had everything that we needed, and he was very gracious and just the most incredible man. So very proud again of our Waia Mai team led by Laurie Watt. And then finally, in terms of operations, I'm totally pleased to, have been able to tāhai an incredible young woman who I think will be a future leader for us, Simone Coffin from Deloitte. So thank you, Mana, for telling me she was great too. So Simone's come in and we've really had to grow out our operations team. So, as Mana has talked about, in order for us to grow our business, we have to make sure that the back end of our business is really successful. So we've been able to increase our IT, increase our HR and policy team, also able to increase our support staff to make sure that, those of our staff on the ground can actually do some really good stuff. So I just, finally, I just want to really mihi to the board. Joining an organisation during COVID, obviously losing our tā, we have been so stoked in the new strategy that has been developed by our board and the direction that they've given. Certainly the opportunity, as has been mentioned, we've got some, really highly credible and incredibly talented board members on our board. And so as a team, we really look forward to their guidance and their support. And certainly them, pushing us to be better, to do more. And so I just want to mihi again to the board. And in particular to Jeff, our new chairman, he stepped into a really difficult job and he's stepped into some pretty big shoes, but he's certainly been passionate about ensuring that we move forward as a people. So with that, I'm going to ask Melissa to start our video and hopefully there'll be no questions and then I can sit down. So I will actually sit down because this is quite a long video and I'll just answer questions from the table. Kia ora.
Kia au te mea nui. Me kaha tātou. Ki te whāngai wā tātou tamari ki te rau.
Were the first to respond and they showed the way. When the Prime Minister gave everyone the same command, stay home, save lives, be kind. In other words, look after each other. You guys were doing it already and then kept doing it.
Get your boosters, people. It's important for all our mokos. Look after our kids and our mokos down Vex, Vegas. This is Ariwaka and I'm Wana Simon. God bless you.
If you're a subcontractor, that is not equitable. So the ability to have us as joint shareholders in our own separate entity is really important.
Te tū ki unga I o tātou whenua ake, e whakatāne ana te hononga I wainga nui o tātou matua tūpuna koina te whainga ki au nei. E
whakahoki mai I wēnei akoranga ki ngā whakareanga I te mea ia mātou o iau e pakeke mai ana. Kaore tēnei mātauranga I tō mātou whānau.
And I think really important that our whānau have some insight into what do these whakairo represent.
The PGF funding has helped shape a path in which is believable. I'm just thankful that I've been given the opportunity through this funding.
Thank you, Te Arawa, for this taonga. Thank you to the many hands who contributed to it.
Biodiversity is one of the priority areas identified within our Te Arawa climate change strategy. There are marae, hapu, whānau who are doing lots of work across the iwi.
Kia ora koutou, Sarah here. I thought I'd just come and show you around our Te Tūkohu Ngāwha, our science fair, which is open now to the public. They've got exhibits and categories from biosecurity to biodiversity to sustainability. Got some awesome projects.
When I look at Kādiri, this is probably one of the last little pockets of forest that our people are able to access. A lot of our Māori land blocks are only accessible by boats.
It shows what, with good management and science and real commitment from the Te Arawa Lakes Trust, can happen. If you sort of turn back the clock, 40 years degradation and, you know, oxygen weed growing freely in this lake, and now we've got to a stage where, shall we say, it's come back to a more pristine state.
Ka pai. Okay, look, any questions for Karen on her report? All right, Auntie Mary.
Kia ora whānau. Thank you very much, Karen, for all the mahi you have done for Te Arawa Lakes Trust. It's been really exciting watching your performance. But I was born on the Ōhau Channel, and so were our kōrauas and kuia. And I watched the water going past every day, and I feel aroha for our people. We do not have a water supply. I know we have to go through all the problems with the Bay of Plenty, Environment, Rotorua District Council, but I would like to remind you, Te Arawa Lakes Trust, you could probably help us in some way to get a water supply. So that is my question. Thank you very much.
Morena Auntie, thank you for raising that. Obviously, that sits inside of the Three Waters issues that we're currently leading out at the moment, as you saw in the video. That's not, so this kōrero is, you know, you've raised this, and certainly across the whole of our Te Manawa o ngā wai, Hapua Niue, they've raised the same issue. So you're right, it's our responsibility to make sure that we do something to resolve that issue, and certainly something, and I'm looking at Nikki and she's giving me the, yes, we've got this. So there will be one of the things, Auntie, that will make sure that we have on our work plan. Kia ora.
Kepa.
Hi, kia ora tātou, Kepa Morgan, Ngāti Piki ao. Reiterate congratulations, Karen. Awesome year and awesome outcomes. Maybe a consideration, Nikki, you're all over this, as I know, but we're seeing a lot of political positioning going on from our council. Even their engineer is saying they don't support this and that. I actually see an absence of a voice from authority, you know, in terms of Te Arawa Lakes Trust, have that authority to speak on our behalf and say, hey, actually Three Waters is a really good thing. It's going to provide better access to water supply and wastewater services that are driven by need rather than monetary aspirations of the councils. And I really do think that we need to stand up and say that publicly, because all I'm seeing in the media is that Three Waters is bad, National's going to remove it, and they don't have any solutions. I haven't heard them come up with anything better. And everybody, I think, agrees that something has to change. So there's a bit of a vacuum there from, you know, a balanced point of view that advocates for our own well-being. Auntie Mary's right. We've got communities within Te Arawa that this council has ignored, not just at Mauria. You go to Mātai Kotare to Tingai, wastewater pipes go right past, you know, and no services. And it's pretty much the same as the roads. Māori roads have always been unsealed. We do, though, have an opportunity now. We have status. We have recognition, and I think as a representative body, we should be taking that opportunity to speak out. Otherwise, without a challenge to that messaging that's going on, we may not end up getting to the goalpost. So, kia ora, Karen. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora, Kepa. You know, just mahi to you in terms of you, I'm not too sure if all of our whānau understand the incredible talent that we have in Kepa in terms of his own engineering prowess and working in this space. Certainly what I would say is we're up for the fight, but the fight has to happen at multiple levels. So there's got to be a governance conversation, obviously, with our mayor. Then operationally, we will then discuss these issues directly with our council, our local council, but actually in Te Manawa o Ngā Wai, and I'm trying to find someone who can tell me how many councils. I think we're going to have to deal with 22 councils. So certainly in that space, we're happy to, to have that conversation. As much as we will put it this way, we understand and know what a solution can be. It's about, as you say, getting the political will from our partners, our tiriti partners, to make sure that we have the right steps. Obviously, there's lots of noise around co-governance, and we understand that that politically at central government there's lots of anxiety around co-governance. But actually, if we take that term away and we look purely at the talent, the skill, the expertise that sits on our side, we could do some great joined up things. And so I'm heartened and hopeful that we've got a new mayor, and I know that we're going to have, we'll need to socialise, what a tiriti partnership looks like in this area. But one thing I can say for your whānau is that we're never backwards in going forwards as a team around making sure that the wishes, the aspirations and the desires of our people are clearly articulated to our tiriti partners at central and local government. And I guess, as I said before, I'm just one part of the team. So how do we collectively collaborate and push all the right levers? In the past, I would just ring Tā. He would ring Minister Parker. They'd have a quick chat and then we'd get stuff through. So now we have to take another approach, and so I think certainly we're up for it. I'll hand over to Jeff in terms of talking about, from the governance level. But perhaps, Nikki, if I can get you just to give a quick synopsis just around some of those spaces that we're in, just so that our whānau here understand how we are educating our tiriti partners to come to our side of understanding. So if I give you a couple of minutes, Nikki, thank you.
Kia ora, morena tātou. Kia ora kipa. So ngā manawa o ngā wai, Te Arawa, we caught a hui for Te Arawa last week, and it also came from the floor there that we need to do, elevate the conversation that we want to have with the council. So we also got a clear a call at our hui last week to do that. So we're Delia and Arihia just putting together a little plan for that. Just wanted to, I guess, add to what Karen's saying around when we set this process up, we went out across the entity and certainly have worked with Te Arawa to understand what the key priorities are in terms of this process. And so drinking water supply, Auntie Mary is definitely on our list. Ensuring that our hapu iwi are informed about this, how they can access resourcing, that when we run the co-governance opportunity that we have sitting alongside other members of the regional representation groups, that we're clear about what our process is and who those people are. So again, really pleased to say that Jeff and Te Rangi Kahiki Bidwa will be the two people that will represent this part of the Te Arawa Waka on the regional representation process moving forward, and then there'll be different representatives from the other part of the entity, Tainui, Taranaki, Mātātua, Tauranga Moana, that'll come on board as well. So yeah, I think we're really well positioned. It was definitely identified we need to elevate the conversation with council and start to take them on a bit more, because they have been positioning this as not good for our communities. And certainly having the seat at the table is a big improvement for Te Arawa and for Hapu Iwi. Kia ora. Sorry, I've just got some questions that are coming through in the online chat. Did you want to have those as they come in, or do you want to take them at the end, or how do you want to? Okay, so I've got one here from Rawiri Bana. The pātai is, will TALT look at continuing the devolution process as brought up by Tātobi at last year's AGM? And I think you mentioned that earlier, Karen. As we progress the Ngāti Whakauwea Treaty Settlement, we support this process going forward and ask that this will be done, as Tā said, within 2 years.
Just quickly to Rawiri, and thank you for sharing Ngāti Whakauwea's position. Actually, this issue was raised some time ago by Ngāti Tarawhai, I think it was about 3 or 4 meetings ago. I think it might have been even longer. At that time, what we'd agreed to with Ngāti Tarawhai, and sorry, I'm going to tell you a bit of a story, was that we would have a discussion, and we had some initial conversations, I think, Cyrus, with the lawyer. Then, of course, the RM reforms happened. And so that has really thrown out a whole lot of timelines. So back to your 2-year question, Rawiri, whilst that would be, in our perfect world, we would be able to do that because of the state of where the reforms are at and the legislation has just gone through. Obviously, we've got to go through a select committee process. So whilst I would love to say hand on heart that we can get through the 2 years, I think that there's certainly a lot more work to be done. I think the other issue too, whānau, that we haven't really raised is, whilst we, believe definitely in the mana of each of our iwi and hapu, we still don't have our waibeak. And so that's really a key issue that we need to look at. So, as an organisation, we're prepared for what that might look like in terms of partnerships, but also what it might look like in terms of litigation. And so given the state of the reforms that they're still in there, we're still at the early stages, it's trying to figure out what and how we look at that. What we don't want is to devolve a problem. And at this point in time, we would be devolving problems whereby each of our individual iwi and hapu would need to go back to talk about the why issue. So, that's something certainly on our radar. Tātobi has left that as a task for us to do. But at the moment, because it's incorporated in all of these different pieces of legislation, I would love to say 2 years, but I'm not quite sure exactly what the timing is. Kia ora.
Any more questions coming from online? Carl? Okay. Probably the only addition I can make to this conversation is, I'm going back to the discussion held in Tuwharetoa 2 weeks ago. We had the ministers there, and Calvin Davis expressed a relatively strong opinion around the lack of support from the iwi in terms of the Three Waters reform, and noting that it was Ngāti Toa that appeared to be the only iwi that has publicly gone out in support of the Three Waters reform. So the question was posed to all the iwi chairs at that time. And so in answer to, sort of, and it's connected to your question too, Kepa, on how we do, particularly supporting our minister, Nanaya. She's been very brave in her push to keep the Three Waters reforms going, and how we as iwi collectively show that unanimous support for the continuation of the Three Waters reform. Okay, we have a mover for Karen's report. Do I have a seconder? Auntie Mary. All those in favour, aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Kia ora. Right, okay. Financial report. Glenn, kei au koe te rangatira.
Morena tātou, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou katoa, ko Glenn Hawkins tōku ingoa. I think everyone knows me after all these years, so I'm from Ngāti Whakauhe, Ngāti Maniapoto. Always a privilege to stand here to present the annual financial statements for the group. If you are looking at your book, it starts on page 41, so right towards the back there. We do have a summary on pages 42 and 43, and then the accounts and the page numbering actually starts again. So I will refer to the new page numbers, which are towards the end of the book. So we have, I'm presenting today, if we can just have the next slide, please. The year ended 30 June 2022, so July last year through to June this year. And presenting for the group, as we say on screen there, it's a number of entities, but mostly the Te Arawa Lakes Trust, Te Arawa Management Limited, Maketu Foods Limited, which is of course Maketu Pies, Te Arawa Tipu Limited, which is the nurseries, and a couple of other licence holding companies as well. So 6 entities in total, and I should acknowledge Alison, who's done all the work, Alison Dean, the accountant, from the Lakes Trust, who has prepared these financials. Part of the process is there's an auditor. Our whanaunga, Fred Cookson, is the auditor, has been for a number of years, and he has provided his audit opinion on pages 19 to 21, right at the back of the book. So his process includes looking at any risks to the trust or to the group, understanding the governance processes and looking at the minutes of the meetings, looking at financial systems and processes that the group have in place, and importantly looking at the financial report that you have in front of you. And pleased to say, as always, we have a clear audit opinion, and it was signed off on the 15th of November. So the auditor's happy. It's always a good start. Just looking on screen, just want to talk about some of the trends first. So the numbers from these next couple of slides are on page 5, our statement of comprehensive revenue and expense, what we used to call our profit and loss statement. And I guess we can see some really clear trends here. The black lines are the this year versus the red, which are last year's numbers, and we can see a significant increase. Last year our revenue was 14 million. This year it's over 26 million, so it's increased by 87%. And you can see there most of that, but not all of it is from the contract. So that big black line right in the middle of the graph there, the contract revenue has increased significantly over the past year. So the additional contracts that Karen and the team have been able to attract into the organisation, including obviously the call centre is a big one, as well as the marae renovation work. So significant increase in that revenue, but also positive increases across all the Tamil areas as well. You know, kiwi fruit income up, maketu pies is steady, but milk revenue from the dairy farms up as well. So you can see the breakdown of that revenue. 59% is from contracts, is from government contracts of the total revenue. Sale of kiwi fruit, 18% of revenue. Sale of pies, 13% of revenue. Sale of milk, 5% of revenue. So as our chairman of the company, Mana, has referred to already, there is diversification there. So if we take a hit in any one particular sector, we can, we've spread the risk in these other options. So we've seen that in this new financial year, which we'll be reporting on next year with kiwi fruit. It has taken a bit of a downturn by about 25%, a lot of the tray rates. So it has dropped, and we'll see some change there. But of course, we haven't got all our eggs in one basket. So that's the crucial thing with the diversification strategy that the company directors have put in place on behalf of the trust. So revenue up 87% compared to last year. Moving to the next slide, we can see, as you'd expect, with revenue up, our expenses have also gone up as well. So they're up 94%, 13 million last year and just under 25 million this year. The breakdown of the costs just on the right-hand side there just shows, a lot of it is obviously people doing stuff. So the employee costs are 34% of those total costs for the year. Direct project costs, direct production expenses, it's all about people doing stuff as well. We've got our cost of sales for the goods that are sold at 10%. And then we have our operating expenses of 15%, interest of 3%. And you can see again where the additional costs really are all about bringing on the extra people. As Karen said in her report, we've gone from 40 to 130 employees over the past year. So we've had a significant increase in the cost of the team as the team's grown. So that's the trend. Still on page 5 and looking at our statement of comprehensive revenue and expense, you can see the overall trends there with the revenue up, our expenses up as well. So we have overall a surplus there, or a trading surplus of just under $1.2 million. Last year, $1.1 million. So very similar overall result for the year. But that really only tells half the story. So what our company directors in particular are looking to do is not only make profits, make cash, but also grow value and grow wealth. And so they invest in assets that ideally grow in value from year to year. Firstly, we're looking here, and we've described it, really as it is, a revaluation of shares. It's been a difficult year for the share market, as I've reported across a number of AGMs this period, where over the past year, the value of the portfolios with Craigs and Milford have actually gone down. So last year it was up 1.6 million, this year down $1.1 million. And that really reflects the challenging environment, economic environment we've seen across the world. The Ukraine conflict had a big impact on the markets. COVID and the impact of COVID through issues like supply chain challenges have also impacted our organisations and the businesses that we invest in. In addition to that, of course, we're now in a high interest and high inflation environment. So it's been really tough, particularly this calendar year. So January through June was where the markets really took a hit once the war started and all of the other impacts. So markets do go up and down. We've had a tremendous run for many years. We did have a blip when COVID first hit. Markets took a tumble, it bounced back to better than where it was pre-COVID, and then we've had a difficult, certainly difficult calendar year, so the last 6 months of this financial year. So that's been the drop in the value of the shares. Conversely, we've had a significant increase in the value of the property, so every 3 years the properties are revalued, and you can see there it's a big number, $33 million increase in the value of the properties. So that's orchards, that's farms, it's corpus land. So a significant uplift in value, recognising effectively across 3 years around $11 million a year per year increase in the value of your land. So that's had a huge impact. That's a positive impact. And certainly some of the properties that have been invested in, like the orchards, have had a good uplift in value. The other line there, we've got a change in fair value. So last year there was the introduction of the value of the lake beds, and as you'll see in the notes to the accounts right at the back of the report, the trustees have decided to take a te ao Māori approach this year and just write back that value. So that's really just an accounting adjustment. It's not cash. It was brought in last year at $7.5 million and it's been taken back out again. And lastly, the revaluation of the kiwifruit licences. So every year there's a tender for kiwifruit licences. That industry has been going exceptionally well over the past few years, and as a result, the cost of the kiwifruit licences goes up each year. And I think this past year was around $700,000 to $800,000 a hectare. And so part of our accounting standards are we are required to increase or revalue those licences. So last year went up $6.4 million, this year $5.3 million. So again, the directors have invested in a sector that is growing, that is booming, and therefore there has been an increase in the value of those intangible assets, which are gold licenses. So that takes us to overall total comprehensive revenue of $31 million, which is a very, very good result for the year. Last year was $16.5 million, and you can see the graph at the bottom of the page just showing, in previous years we were pretty steady. And in more recent years, with revaluations, we've had a significant increase in the value growth within the organisation year on year. So it's a very good result to report to you today. Looking at page 6, our statement of financial position. So this is our balance sheet. It shows what you own and what you owe. And again, we've had positive growth here. We've got cash and other liquid assets of $7 million. And then we've got our other assets that the directors and trustees have invested in recent years. So biological assets includes our fruit, and tangible assets are our gold licenses. We've got our investment properties. That includes the orchards, other investments, which are shares, property, plant and equipment, which is our other property assets. And so total assets increased by 32%, from $101 million to $134 million over the past year. So particularly through those revaluations, we've seen a significant growth in what you own. Conversely, what you owe, this is the next slide. So not too much change here. We have our total current liabilities of $7.3 million. Most of that are our payables. Deferred revenue, so we receive some contract revenue that relates to the next financial year, so we treat that as a liability. That's $4 million. So total assets of 7.3, and our loans for the year just under $21 million. So a couple of bank facilities that are funding the assets. We're in an increasing interest rate environment, so that'll present some challenges in the future over the next few years. But those total loans have just declined through repayments by 21.6 to $21 million. So overall, the equity or net assets of the trust and all its associated entities increased from $80 million to $110 million over the past year. We can see on the next slide the breakdown of the assets. So good spread, and this is what Mana referred to before with this graph. I think my graph looks better, but who's counting here? So we've got a breakdown of the assets, and we're seeing an even spread across things like kiwifruit dairy farms, leasehold properties, investment properties. There's a good spread so that we are insulated from any one impact or one particular hit a sector may take. So really good spread. There's money, there's cash available, and there's also investment portfolios. So this has been a very deliberate strategy, certainly over the past 5 years, to really diversify this asset base, and it has been done extremely well. And we're seeing the results of that now. So total assets on the next slide. I mean, this is the growth. If you look back prior to 5 years ago, it was pretty steady as she goes for a number of years. And then we've seen the results over the past 5 years as that diversification strategy has been put in place. And there's been the acquisition of a number of additional properties, orchards, the nursery, maki tūpais, all to increase value and increase wealth, which, you know, as we've talked about already today, hopefully leads to increased well-being as well. So really good asset growth from the trust. So in summary, just my last slide before we have the resolutions and questions. We've seen excellent growth in revenue over the past year, 87% increase. Our surplus is up $1.2 million now, up 18% compared to last year. And equity, so what the group is worth, has increased to $110 million, so up 39%. So it's a very positive result that I'm presenting to you today. So happy to take any questions. Kia ora, Ellen.
Kia ora, Glenn.
Kia ora.
Glenn, I can't find in here, maybe I can't read properly, but anyway, where's the rental income for our 52 sections at Makatu and Little Waihi? Where do I look for that?
It's not separated out in these accounts. So in the notes on page 11, it's included in there. And I couldn't, if your next question is what's the exact number, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if Cassandra has something off the top of her head, the total rental. Yeah. Yes, so apologies for that. Any other questions? Okay, if not, we've got a couple of resolutions, Mr. Chair.
First resolution is to approve the Te Arawa Lakes Trust annual financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2022. Do I have a mover? Tūroro. Seconded. Alan? Kia ora. All those in favour, aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Our second resolution is to approve the appointment of an auditor. The resolution is approve Cooks and Forbes and Associates Limited are reappointed as auditors for Te Arawa Lakes Trust. Do I have a mover? Sorry? Ken Roreti, seconder. Ona. All those in favour, aye. Against? Abstentions? Carried. Kia ora. I think that basically brings us to the end of our hui. Actually, I failed to call for any general business at the start of our hui, but we can now, if anybody has any general business items they would like to put to the floor, I'm happy to open it up now. I'm mindful. Oh, Kai. What time have we got, Kai? Kia ora, Kingi. Grab a mic, please, Kingi.
Not used to mics. Well, tuatahi, ka nui te mihi kia koutou. O tira tātou ko tai mai tinana Zoom I tēnei rangi ka nui te mihi. Just like to say how really awesome it is to be here. The reason that I say that is that many of the staff know that I had to leave last year. I had 6, count them, 6 benign tumours in my spine. And so I had to leave. And so I want to acknowledge Karen, your leadership around me, around supporting me and doing the right thing in terms of leaving. Thank you. I want to acknowledge all the board members as well. All the emails, all the staff members, I got your emails and really helped me in my journey. And that's what we do here. And of course, ki te weneraua te tini, te mūrau o te mano, te haukura o te whānui to Mr. Chair, Sir Toby. He said, when you get healed, can you come and have a cup of tea? I just didn't know that cup of tea would be a tapu waikura. But, e harei te mea kua mātau te mamai I roto I te tangata. So me whai whakaro atu kia ia. The reason that I'm standing, and it's just a whakaro for all of us, is that I know when we talk about the putea and arapeta and the team talk about moteaha, we got this awesome putea that's beautiful, but what for? And kiteaha, what to do with what? And I know that in the time of my mamai, being on a board is the last thing that you want to think about. Sorry, I'm not talking about this whānau. The whānau that I'd leave whenever I'd go to a hui, whenever I'd go and do a kaupapa. They were the ones that were there. They literally had to change me. They had to take me to all these particular places. And what I think for us is that the water has a healing space for us. The water has a healing space for us. And I'd like to put a tomo to the board to actually start looking at what were the practices that our tupuna used to do to heal the wairua. I know over here with our chief, our paratene haupapa, our Auntie Minnie, Auntie Millie Douglas, every day she would walk along the water. And not to get, because we go along the water and then we say, heal me, heal me. Her kōrero was to talk to the water. Our koro pihopa every day would go and talk to the ngāwha. Anō nei he tupuna, because they were a tupuna. And in a year's time, we're going to get ourselves, we're going to be we're not going to have to worry about COVID. We're going to have to worry about that recession. Because the inflation's going to stay, because there's still a shortage of supplies. There's going to be a robot that will be taking over the driving duties of the tangata. So our wairua is going to be really, really low. So we're going to be learning these things about how to grow our own kai. But that's only part of the kaupapa. The other part is to actually use the way as the way that really distinguishes the difference between ownership and nōku te wai. And so that's really what I think while I've been sitting in my chair because I couldn't sleep, is to know that a karanga from my ngākau to the taiao, to be able to be part of my healing. And then now that I'm healed, to be continually part of my oranga, kia te arawa ai, kia ngāti whakaue ai, kia koutu ai, taku oranga. So that's my challenge of aroha to you all, because I know there's lots of people, they leave, they check out too early because of the pressure, because of the expectations. So let's find some ways to give back what they're giving to us. Ko te oranga tonutanga o te wai, ko te oranga tonutanga o te tangata. O reiri raro I tēnā ahuatanga, what an awesome hui ato this has been, Karen and Jeff. Really hopeful for our people, all these things. So let's move to the next stage. Ke tai atu ki te taumata o matariki. No reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Gosh, I spoke too long. Christmas has arrived. Tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora, Kingi. Cyrus?
Kia ora, tuatai e tautoko ana ngā mihi, ngā kōrero here. He pātai tāku. I'm going to go back to the mana moana and the mana moana report that was being done, and ask that if it has been completed, that it be disseminated out to the iwi, so that we can use it in our deliberations. Koina.
Any more questions? In Patai? At the back there?
Tēnā tātou, ko haukapua nui Verko tōku ingoa. Heuri whakatupu no te whānau Verko, no te whānau Morehu, ai te taha ukaipō no te whānau Mihinui. E mihi ana ki ngā hononga whakapapa i Wainganui a tātou. I'll just go to English. I just want to get up and say thank you for sponsoring my hiding up with Auntie Georgina when we went over to Oxford in October. Yeah, just an incredible opportunity. So I just wanted to get up and thank you for that. An invaluable experience that I was privileged to have. And I would like to see other rangatahi from Te Arawa go to places like that and have the same opportunity. The people we met over there were the, I guess, change makers of the world, and it was just inspirational on so many levels. And I see many of our people, I guess, have that kind of caliber and that potential to go to places like that. And also just want to acknowledge the tremendous mahi you're all doing. We saw the graphs, we see the exponential growth from the year maybe 2018 onwards. And of course that's reflected in our whānau, all the different employment opportunities that has presented indirectly and directly to our whānau. So just he paku mihi tēnei, kia koutou, kia tātou. Kia ora.
Kia ora e hoa. Ka pai. Any more questions? Harina?
Mana hau kia tātou, e mihi ana ki a ranginui e tuake nei kia papatua nuku. E takoto tēnei tātou ngā mokopuna o tai au. E tūn ake anau ki te mihi, ki te whare nei, me te maraea te mana ki mai ana i tēnei huihuinga, ki a koutou te tarahati, nui te mihi o koutou tautokotanga me tō koutou noho pono mai ki a mātou. Ko tāku he mihi nā te mea i Waimari e au te whiwhi tētahi karahipi no te Pūtea Whakatupu Trust, kei te haere au ki Rarotonga a te hera a te tūrei, ki te tūtakitaki ki tētahi rōpū ko kōrero te ōrau, ko rātau tētahi rōpū tangata whenua o ngā mautere, kei te akoi o rātau kōrero tuku iho, kei te tiaki te tai ao ana, kei te ngana rātau te piki i te mātauranga o rātau uri. Nā reira, i Waimari au tērā karahipi nā te tautoko o tēnei tarahati ki a mātou, o ki au. Ana e wawata nui ana kia taia tātou te hāpai o tō tātou reo rangatira, me o tātou kōrero tuku iho ki roto nei o te Arawa. Nā reira, kei te haere atu ki reira, ki te ako i te hononga o ngā kōrero o tō tātou waka o te Arawa, i haere ki ngā mautere, ana i hoki mai, ka hoki mai ki a mātou, ka ora te au i a mātou. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora Harina. Pātai anō. Carl? Okay, well, look, if there's no further questions, I'm happy to bring our hui to a close. If I can just make some final remarks. Firstly, big mihi to everybody that's attended today to support the kaupapa. Acknowledgement to those online who have joined us today. Sometimes people that are responsible for putting on the event don't get this event don't get a mention, and I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank some members of our team who are responsible for making our day a success, other than our Gecko production people, ngamihi ki tō whānau Miller, Moana and Mike and Alex. A big mihi to you and your team for your IT expertise, ngamihi Moana. But immediately to our team, Alison, Melissa, Henny Brown, Kaurangi Rapana, And look, I'd also like to mention Tanya. Tanya is our Van der Vecht is our board secretary. Ngā mihi kia koe te whaia Tanya for your awesome mahi in support of the board. So look, and an acknowledgement to Karen and her team, Mana, Cassandra, their team, and of course our board, our fantastic board. So together, I'm so proud to be appearing before you today as the new chair, acknowledging that TAR, because we're reporting on the financial year to the 30 June of this year, for the bulk or half of the year, TAR, we operated under TAR's leadership as chair. And I'm very humbled and privileged to be your new chair, taking over from TAR in the earlier part of this year. So very fortunate that I was mentored under TAR's leadership. And just as, you know, Karen has mentioned it in her report, just as his way to around the office, his presence was felt very strongly. And we all miss him terribly. So I think, Jude, I felt as though I was coming with jandals today, wearing my jandals, my fat, flat feet. And I knew I'd be unable to fill the shoes of our illustrious TAR. So with that in mind, whānau, I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And with that, Ken, if you could close our hui.
Tina no, 21 more sleeps. Kingi, your kōrero was uplifting. I thought you were going to do karakia whakamutunga. Tēnā koe, Kingi. Whānau, just seeking wellness, seeking good health within all of our families, with our friends, throughout our community, seeking peace in the period ahead of us, and peace throughout our hāpori, but also with the conflict throughout the world. I raro i tēnā ahuatanga a kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki i Hukaraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga taitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 amene.